Okay, so that was the World Cup final. As you can see, slightly different setup here, moving out of the basement flat and moving into a house, which is quite exciting. But that meant I was watching the final on a laptop in bed. I've done a bit of something that I don't usually do. I've done like the morning rounds of watching other people on YouTube, looking at media, and if anyone had the same opinion as I did. It's not that I don't usually watch other people's content because I don't think it's good. I think it is good. But I generally don't do it because I don't want to have my opinion influence, say, from other people's. I'd like to have my own judgment and like to see things for myself and make my own decisions on things. And then I will typically sometimes watch people's videos after I've done a review on said event. But this time I didn't, because I felt like I maybe saw things different to other people and I wanted to verify that I had, or if anyone had the same opinion as I did, and I seem to have a different opinion. First off, I think I want to start off with the positives, because there were many. And first of all, you've got to congratulate South Africa. One of the toughest routes to a Rugby World Cup final. They played sensationally all the way through the knockout stages. I mean, winning by 1 point 3 times in a row, very difficult feat. It must have been tense being a South African fan through all of that. And they had a game plan. Everyone knew what the game plan was going to be, with Pollard starting at 10 and the typical Bond squad coming on for 7-1 bench. And they stuck to it. I mean, their tackling was sensational. They played in the right areas of the pitch. They were happy to give possession away and just have utterly suffocating defence. Obviously, Steph Totoy got his man of the match quite rightly. He was sensational. Other honourable mentions have got to be Etzebeth for me. Was also sensational. Some really key tackles. Great in the line out with disrupting New Zealand ball. Obviously, there was also a lot of New Zealand interrupting South African ball in the line out, and I think that was a great competition to watch. There was no clean line out for anybody, and that just shows that both teams were really competitive at that area of the game, and that was really cool to see. The wingers as well, I thought, played well. Obviously, Colby comes off for a yellow and looks like nearly headless Nick for a good 10 minutes at the end, which is kind of funny at the moment because obviously South Africa won, but maybe I'm not making that joke if they don't win, because it was kind of sad because he felt like he might have given the game away to New Zealand. But I think I've also got to give credit to the New Zealand players themselves, I think they had some hardships. There were some cards in this game against them, and I'm going to talk about those later. But to go down to 14 men for so long and be so competitive, to almost find a way to win, I think it's the credit to the players themselves. And I'm really outlining here that I want the players to get credit, not the coaching staff. And I'm going to get into that. So South Africa, hugely important for them to win the World Cup. Obviously, it makes a big difference to their country. They didn't get to celebrate 2019, obviously, because of COVID as much. And this is big for them. So really big congratulations to them. They probably had the hardest route that I've seen for anybody to get to the final, and they earned it. You can't take that away from them. They did incredibly well. So well done to them. And one final positive, because the rest of it's going to be pretty negative. Not to blow my own trumpet, but this is kind of what I predicted from the beginning of the World Cup in terms of Pollard finding a way to come into the squad.
I think we've got to watch out for South Africa finding a way to bring Handré Pollard into the World Cup squad. Just look out for some way for Handré to be within the squad.
South Africa being the best team because they have two engines in terms of having two world-class packs that they can utilise. They have the best coaching staff, and they knew how to win. And they know basically what separates their team in terms of their talent compared to other people. Their game plans and their games were always tailored to what they have within their squad, rather than trying to mold their squad into a game plan, which is always a successful strategy for any team in any sport, in my opinion. And that's not me just sort of bigging myself up. I've made predictions in the past. Early subscribers will know back when the Heineken Cup or the Champions Cup, I made some really horrible decisions that made me put on the Tesco paper bag of shame when I predicted Toulouse would beat Leinster in the semi-final. So it's nice to get some things right every now and again. So those are the positives. Okay, we're gonna get on to the negatives now. And for me, there are quite a lot. The first thing I'm going to talk about is New Zealand's strategy. I talked about this in the preview show before the game, that I didn't trust that the New Zealand coaching staff would have a game plan to counteract what we all knew South Africa were going to do. We all knew South Africa were going to force you to play in the right areas of the pitch. They were happy to give away possession. They would just play very strong defensively. They would give you the ball, but they would also suffocate you and not give you quick ball. And it seemed like, especially because they kind of lost the first half, New Zealand did not. The New Zealand players were not empowered because they were not given a game plan that was going to be any success. I didn't see anything creative in that regard. I didn't see anything installed in them to counteract what South Africa were going to do. I saw no intention to try and force South Africa to play a game that they didn't want to play. South Africa's game plan worked from the first get-go. They managed to slow down any ball that New Zealand had in an attack. The only time New Zealand had quick ball was off the set pieces where they actually looked dangerous because they could get all the forwards sucked into one area of the pitch. And maybe that makes you just think, well, you know what? Maybe if we just had a few moves where we had some forwards coming on a crash ball, or we just sucked in defenders in the open play, maybe we would actually create some space on the outside for our backs to do what we want. But no, there was no game plan in that regard. They just kept bashing their head against the wall. And it just, for me, screams that they had poor coaching from the outset. And to be honest with you, if I'm a New Zealand fan, I'm kind of glad this is the end of the Ian Foster reign. When you've got a 15 of that talent and you can't create a game plan for them to be competitive against any team, I think that's a big failing. And I have to say, I feel bad for the New Zealand players because I think they were let down by their coaching staff and their decisions. So that's the first disappointment for me. The next disappointment is, well, it's World Rugby. And where do I start? Well, let's start off with the first thing that I thought was wrong. First of all, we see a yellow card for a guy rolling out a defender on a ruck and falling on a leg. Now, I don't have a problem with this rule. It seems like it could work. It seems like it could also open up controversy as much as the yellow and red cards have done in terms of the hits to the head. We just don't know yet. And that's my point. I haven't seen this rule enforced in any game up to this point in the knockout stages. It feels like this is a new rule that's introduced for a final, which just seems like brain dead to me. Why are you changing the rules of the game in the most important game? You've given neither team enough time to prepare themselves for this eventuality. They've got no time to look at previous records or what you can get away with and what you can't get away with, or if you have to be careful or if you don't have to be careful. It just seems like this was a rule that was just dropped in this game randomly. I mean, it could have always been in the rule book. I could be completely wrong, but this is the first time I've seen this enforced in a game, like, forever. And it just feels like this is the wrong time to start experimenting in a World Cup final. That was a bit of a clown show for me. I think it really kind of summarizes how much of a clown show it was for me by the fact that it was a yellow card. And it was going to be a TMO review. So they were over the 10 minutes of the yellow card. Over the 10 minutes of the yellow card, they were going to decide whether this is going to be a red card or a yellow card. It took them 9 minutes and 20 seconds of the yellow card by a cute referee in a suit in a booth to finally decide that it was going to stay a yellow card. Usually these yellow and red cards are sorted and they are decided within 4 or 5 minutes. Which is fair. You want the TMO to have plenty of time to make sure that they make the right decision, but it says to me that this is definitely seems like it's an experimentational choice to bring this rule in, that it took 9 minutes and 20 seconds for that ruling to be decided in the game. So, yeah, I thought that was just, okay, great. Then we get into the red card for Sam Cane. Now, to be clear, by the letter of the law, I have no disagreements with it being a red card. it was a red card. For the ruling and how it's been, going up that high, finding yourself up that high has been called a red card before. I'm thinking Tom Curry in the Argentina game. But it doesn't change the fact for me that this rule needs reconsidering. Just like the Tom Curry red card in the Argentinian game, this challenge by Sam Cane feels unmalicious, feels reckless, feels like it's a knucklehead play. It feels like it's a yellow card. It doesn't feel like it should be a challenge that should warrant a red card by the end of it. And I think you've got to look at this from the point of view of growing the game of rugby. How are you going to bring new fans into a sport where something that seems menial, what's another word for it? Minuscule compared to some contacts that are happening throughout a game that you see in terms of giant hits and people falling out of lineouts and, you know, high balls and guys taken out in the air. And how are you going to, as a neutral, as a casual fan, look at this and think this deserved a red card for a game, and to effectively, in most games, credit to New Zealand that it didn't, but in most games, kill the game at that point? In a World Cup final, you're not. You're going to look at it and think, that's kind of stupid. I'm going to stop watching this game now. And it's just going to kill the game. And the thing, I don't know why, but the thing that draws in my head that I think is such, like, if you look at the atmosphere of these decisions and you look at everything around it, World Rugby have picked their best referee to referee in this game. They've also copyright striked this same referee on his Twitter page when he was trying to show that it's great to show respect in a game. World Rugby, like, it just seems sometimes like they're just trying to shoot themselves in the foot in terms of trying to grow the sport. They feel at the same time like they're half and half split between old farts and entitled children. The old farts section of them feel like they're gonna get rid of some of the danger within their sport by real top-down, heavy disciplinary action. So I'm struggling to find recent data to see if this ruling of the yellow and the red card is actually reducing concussions. I've only had a quick Google search, so I could be wrong, but you bring in, so that's what I'm saying. You have this top-down, heavy disciplinary action of yellow, red cards for hits to the head. It's not easy for me to find that there's been any evidence that this has caused less concussions. I would love to see the data, and I would love to be wrong about it. That's fine. But then we have the other side of entitled child making decisions. And what I mean by that is that, why are you changing the rules of the game in the final? Like, it just feels like you're just doing it for the hell of it because you think it's the right thing to do and you're just going for it. So I just feel like, and also just not trying to grow the game. I mean, Wayne Barnes isn't the only person who's been copyright striked. I got copyright striked in one of my videos that was very explanatory of the game. Friends have come to me and said, this is a great way to make rugby more accessible to people that don't fully understand the game. And now I can't produce those videos anymore because I feel like I'm going to get copyright striked again. I've got plans to get around that in the future, and I'll get into that in another video. But I don't know. I feel like World Rugby here is taking a big L in both this final and in general, and they need to really kind of fix their acts because at the moment it's not really good enough and it's affecting the game. Feels bad to be negative over such an incredible achievement for South Africa, but no one else is talking about this, and I would feel really remiss if I didn't, because I love the game, and that's why I created this channel. I didn't create this channel to make money or be famous. I just made this channel because I love watching rugby and I love talking about it. It's helped me bond more with my friends, my family and everything, because I can talk about rugby with them like this. And I just don't want to see the game ruined. And, you know, the more and more that rugby goes on, the more and more I see it kind of going down the drain. And yeah, maybe this should have been a video for another time, and I should have just reveled in South Africa's victory. It was a good game for them. They played very, very well. They did make some mistakes, I will be honest, that did let New Zealand back in the game. But I mean, the constant drop goals were a bit weird, for one, and obviously Colby getting the yellow card. But disappointed. That's what I am. Disappointed. Anyway. That's it for me. Hopefully this isn't too negative. South Africa were great. So that's it. That's it for me. I'm out.